Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. Total disbelief at Ford Field.
He may go all the way to the 20 down the right side, and it's Randall Cobb to the 5, to the end zone, to the touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Green and Golden Boys, a Packers podcast, a podcast for fans that love to kick the Bears' ass, which they did last Sunday night. This is Marcus, and with me as always is my co-host Charles. Charles, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm good. I'm especially good after a victory. It's so much more fun to talk about a Packers win than a loss. That goes without saying, but Packers beat the Bears 27-10 at Lambeau Field. I mean, by all accounts, pretty handily. I did get a little nervous at times. I mean, on that 4th and inches when the Bears were, depending on who you ask, almost scored.
What do you think?
I mean, my gut tells me that he did cross the line, but unfortunately, there was no definitive evidence for Bears fans. You couldn't tell. I think he probably did score, but.
100%
it is what it is. Yeah,
they 100% got the call right in the sense that when you review it, you're supposed to have indisputable evidence, which they did not have. But
indisputable.
The dude scored.
Yeah,
come on, he scored, and that's a completely different feel. To your point, if they count it, so I'm glad it didn't. But I hope the football gods aren't. Putting that one in the memory bank, and I hope that same thing doesn't happen to us sometime in a more, at a bigger moment in the season. So hopefully,
that does turn it into a 1-score game, but I mean, I still think the Packers march down the field if they score and still make it a 2-score game after that and win by 10. So
we win the game still. I'm just saying, dude scored.
No, I agree, and it sucks, but I think we still win. So wasn't like it was a super close game, Bears fans. So relax. I want to talk about this Packers offense. Didn't really show up in Week 1, but we saw some good things in this game. You brought it up in our last conversation. You wanted to see A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones on the field at the same time. And I feel like we saw that for, not the first time necessarily, but they were doing it a lot. I mean, and I think Mike Tirico was the one who kept mentioning it. It's like, yeah, put your best players on the field. And for the Packers, that's Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So we saw a lot of that, and that ended in a huge day on the ground for the Packers. Packers ended up with, I think, over 200 yards rushing on the day. And I believe 132 of those yards were from Aaron Jones, who just looked like a shredder on Sunday night.
Oh, I mean, it looked amazing. I think obviously it helps to have Elton Jenkins back, creating some of those holes and protecting Aaron when he does drop back. But I mean, Aaron says every game has its slightly different flow. In no way should the flow of a game only result in 5 touches for the guy. For having them at least touch the ball 15 times. I mean, that's a no-brainer, especially against a team, that you should dominate like this. It was awesome to see. Jones in particularly step up, seeing as he's the one who kind of made the payday a few years ago. But it was just like, yeah, to your point, seeing them both on the field and actually being effective in the run it was just kind of a relief, honestly. Like if we would have come out flat, it would have been a very discouraging game to see.
Yeah, for sure. The running game was obviously probably the highlight of the day, but I also liked seeing Aaron Rodgers spreading the ball around. I mean, 8 different players had a catch in this game. I think that's what we're going to start to see. I think we knew it going into the season. He was going to have to be very democratic with his throws and who he was targeting, and I think we're starting to see that. I don't know that this is going to be the recipe every single week, but very encouraging to see. You kind of start with the running game, and then you get the ball out quickly. You spread it around, and they try to get the young guys involved a little bit more this week. We saw it with a couple of those those motion plays with Christian Watson, little pitches, and then we saw a couple of just really quick screens to Romeo Doubs that were probably designed to get him the ball and just get him involved when you've got a guy that's that athletic, which is really cool to see. Love to see those guys get a little bit more. Go ahead.
It's cool to see, but I kind of want to pump the brakes a little bit on that. I want to, we got to talk about Sammy Watkins here in a minute. But yeah, the new guys got involved, but you just said it. They were, I think, 2 screens to Dobbs and then a couple of end arounds to Christian Watson. Yes, we were getting them involved, but I'm not excited yet to, I don't think Rodgers trusts them yet. And I don't think
and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is like, you got to crawl before you can walk. And I think this is their way to get them more comfortable and get them involved and get them on the field. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'd love to see another 50-yard bomb to Christian Watson where he catches it, or, to hit Romeo down the field.
Yeah, of course we want to see the 75-yard bomb, but I'm more talking like the critical third down plays, the slants, the, down by 10, making these guys make decisions. That's where we need these guys to be by the end of the year, which I'm not saying they're not going to be, but I don't think anything has happened yet this season for those 2 guys, those 2 rookies in particular, to get you way overexcited. I think you're right. I wouldn't have expected that yet.
No, but
we, to your point, baby steps, and we need to see progression, right? If all of a sudden next week against Tampa Bay, we see the same thing or even less, that's where we start kind of questioning, what we're doing with those two.
I disagree.
Those 2 rookies.
I disagree for 2 reasons. One, we're going to play a lot better defense next week in Tampa, and 2, so I won't say that the offense is going to regress, but we're just facing a better defense. And then 2, I mean, did you see those throws that Rodgers was making to Randall Cobb and to Aaron Jones and to even Sammy Watkins? I mean, there were a couple plays that were just unreal. That reminded me of the throw to Jared Cook against the Cowboys a couple years ago in the playoffs. There was a 3rd and 10 that Aaron Rodgers, scrambled, went to his left and found Aaron Jones not really even open, and they were able to pick up the first down. Incredible play by both of those players. And then there was a 2nd and 7 to Randall Cobb.
That was the best catch of the day.
That was that one was unfreaking real. That one was more
with
so
with the point up the field too.
Yes, I mean, what? So to your point, like, he's got guys that he trusts that can make those plays right now, and I think he trusts Sammy Watkins to do the same if we need him to. But I'm not too worried about the rookies being there or getting there. I think we'll see it, but it was just week 2. You know what I mean? Aaron Rodgers. Go ahead.
Is Sammy Watkins our number 1 receiver moving forward? Not most trusted, not most trusted, and not necessarily most targets. I'm saying like the guy running the primary route in most offensive plays. Do you think that's Sammy Watkins after what we saw this last Sunday?
I don't know. I mean, I think probably, until his position's usurped, because, I mean, the guy had 3 catches for 93 yards. I mean, Rodgers was looking for Watkins. He looked for him a couple times. I think he had 4 or 5 targets and then 3 receptions for 93 yards. So I have to imagine yes, and then you can use him a little bit differently than you can in Allen Lazard. I think, that touchdown to Allen Lazard was kind of, what we see more from him. I mean, he's not like a super fast receiver. He's not going to stretch the field. Sammy Watkins is still pretty athletic,
Yep. I agree with you. I think he's going to be running the Devontae Adams routes, if you will. He's not going to get the 163 targets or whatever he had last year. But I think he's just that more traditional receiver. Sammy Watkins is, whereas Lazard's going to be more of a slot guy, right? The gritty guy picking up the hard third downs,
great blocker.
Relying on him on the blocks. Exactly. Speaking of Lazard, what'd you think about his touchdown celebration?
I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. I actually,
the team had a little ayahuasca
tea. Yeah. I mean, we're speculating that could have just been regular tea, or it could have been coffee, or who knows, really. But
I don't know what kind of tea makes all the guys pass out right away. I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was pretty funny, and Aaron seemed to be caught off guard by it a little bit. So I think in an interview he said he was gonna join the celebration, but thought that might send the wrong message, which is kind of funny. But anyway, I like the celebration. I thought that was pretty funny. Throwing a little bit of humor in Aaron Rodgers. I think to summarize the offense, we did exactly what we needed to do. We also did exactly what everyone expected them to do. Right? It was a get right game. It was a game that we should have been able to move the ball around on. So I'm not going to crown us Super Bowl champions after it, but I am. We looked a heck of a lot better than we did, against the Vikings. Obviously, So offensively, I'm encouraged.
Yeah.
Let's move to the defensive side of the ball. What did you
hold
like?
on. Before we go to the defense, I want to talk about the bad from the offense. So
Okay.
you said that you were encouraged by the offense's progress, which
Yes.
I was as well, but we have to acknowledge some of the miscues that we saw. I mean, there was that fumble on the exchange with Rodgers and AJ Dillon, and Aaron Rodgers actually came out and said that was his fault. You know, that was his mistake. He went the wrong way, and then there was that when that snap that hit Christian Watson and went 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That one, by all accounts, was Josh Myers snapping at the wrong cadence, and he was a little bit early, and that's why it hit Christian Watson. Should have been a 1 count later, and it would have been a fine snap from shotgun. So a couple of miscues on offense you don't like to see. Those are mental errors, really. I mean, those weren't drop passes. Those weren't just fumbles, dropping the ball or getting stripped. Those were mental mistakes, and you don't like to see those ever. The other thing I wanted to talk about, which from like a negative perspective, and I guess the positive perspective for this, is that we got Elton Jenkins back. He's back. Didn't seem to suffer any type of setback during the game, but he was the, I think, third worst graded offensive player according to Pro Football Focus during this game. He allowed 4 pressures, which led to 1 sack, and he had the lowest pass blocking grade during the game for 58.5 PFF grade.
Don't care.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was going to say. You do care, though, if one of those 4 pressures leads to a Rodgers injury,
Yeah, but I mean, it was nothing like it was last week. And yes, it was who we played, right? But it first game back, a couple pressures, more than a couple. But yeah, I won't read too much. Talk to me in 3 weeks. Talk to me after this week. I mean, we're facing a very different defense here next week. And if it's a shit show, then I'll start getting upset. But first game back after going what he went through, I'm okay with it.
Okay, yeah, and I would agree. There's going to be some of those growing pains when he gets back. I mean, game action is not like practice, so he's going to get his feet under him. I think he'll be okay. I think the important thing is, by all accounts, he hasn't re-injured or suffered a setback, so that's big for this O-line. Really hoping we'll get Bakhtiari back in the next 2 weeks. I just don't know how realistic that's going to be. It's starting to scare me a little bit, but let's move on to the defense.
Let's move on to the defense.
What good did this defense do?
The good was the quote from God, why am I drawing a blank? Who's our guy? Who's our corner?
Jair Alexander?
Jair Alexander, Jesus. The quote from Jair Alexander after the game. Obviously, Jair, we might not have mentioned it in our review or preview. Jair was in the news because he was frustrated that he wasn't able to play man against Justin Jefferson. So he was asked that question after his interception to end the game against the Bears. Did you hear this?
I don't think I did.
You got to find the clip because I'll do it no justice. But they asked him, is that man or was that zone? And Jair goes, that was man with a little bit of zone. And it was the funniest clip I've heard.
I do remember that because he came back out onto the field after the game, and I did see that actually. When he's wearing the sunglasses
he recapped the play kind of like you and I would if we were NFL players. He's like, man, I was like, boom, bam. And then I was like, bah, got the ball.
Like, what? Basically a Batman comic strip version of the breakdown.
Exactly. Yeah. But so the good obviously there was that we did get a turnover, and I think that was very promising to see. I was impressed with Quay Walker, kind of moving, jumping up, into the run game at times. And being able to move quickly laterally to make a lot of tackles. And I thought, quickly, unlike what we've seen in the past from this defense. The bad was exactly that, though. I mean, we knew Justin Fields isn't one to throw 350 yards on teams. Mm-hmm. We knew they're a running team. We knew they were a mediocre team that all they could do to win is run on us. So it was a little discouraging in the first